Good morning, Devils fans. We're talking about the younger, bigger brother, as today's spotlight is on Luke Hughes. Born September 9th, 2003, in Manchester, New Hampshire. He grew up in Toronto, but played juniors in Detroit, obviously bouncing around because of his dad's job. Talked about a lot of this previously on Jack's video, but Luke is his own person, so I wanted to cover it all again, just in case some people happen to watch this one before Jack's, or don't watch Jack's at all, or whatever the case may be. So, Luke and his brothers are some of the few NHLers to be Jewish. A Jewish mother, Catholic father, just like myself. He was born to Ellen, his mom, and Jim, his dad, both of which were accomplished athletes in their own right. Jim, a former player and captain at Providence College, as well as an assistant coach for the Boston Bruins and director of player development for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Ellen played hockey among other sports at the University of New Hampshire. She also won silver at the 1991 World Championship with Team USA. Luke also has an uncle Marty, who played in the British National League, and an uncle Teddy, who played at the ECHL level. Rounding out the family is, of course, his two brothers. Oldest brother Quinn, who was selected 7th overall in 2018 by the Vancouver Canucks, our condolences. And, of course, Jack, who was taken 1st overall in 2019 by the New Jersey Devils. So, obviously a big hockey and sports family. Luke grew up as the youngest sibling in all of this, and we all know we can thank their mother, Ellen, for the skating ability that all the brothers have. So, like I said, Luke would play in the greater Toronto area growing up before he would play with the Little Caesars U15 League in Michigan. Following in the footsteps of his brothers, he'd spend 2 seasons with the USNTDP while also playing for the national team. At the 2021 NHL entry draft, as we all know, Luke would be taken 4th overall by the New Jersey Devils, and of course we cannot forget the viral clip of Jack's celebration when that was first announced, of him jumping up, even more excited than Luke, and shaking like the world was an entire earthquake when hugging his brother. And then eventually Quinn got in on the celebration too, but boy oh boy, the two Hughes brothers on the Devils, and then eventually the third, is quite the storyline. Again, following in his brother's footsteps, at least Quinn's, Luke would commit to and play for the University of Michigan, where he would go on to have some of the best seasons by a defenseman in team history. He would set both the goals and points records for a rookie defenseman through his time there. In his sophomore year, he would go over a point per game, but just like his rookie year, he would have somewhat of a disappointing end of the season, where he ended both years in the Frozen Four with no championships to his name. After his conclusion of his sophomore year there, on April 8th, 2023, Luke would sign his ELC with the Devils and make his NHL debut a few days later on April 11th in a game against the Buffalo Sabres. He would get 11 minutes of ice, 2 shots on net, a hit, and a takeaway. In the final game of the regular season and the second game of Luke's pro career, he would notch his first NHL point with an assist at the 17-minute mark of the first period on an Eric Haula goal. And then we all remember his first NHL goal. 27 seconds left in overtime, Luke essentially would do it all himself, even if brother Jack is credited with an assist on it, which is awesome for the record books, but we all know this was Luke's play. He made Ovi look silly, almost potted it on the first attempt driving the net, but then collected his own rebound and won the game on the wraparound with the glorious celebration. Luke would end the regular season as a point-per-game player. Luke would get into the last 3 games of the playoffs for the Devils, being in the box for the first round versus the Rangers, and then obviously the first couple of games against Carolina, which the first of those 3 games, Luke would add 2 more assists to his professional stats. On the ice, obviously we don't have a ton of sample size. The season against Carolina obviously unfortunately ended in 5, ending the first season there for Luke. He's obviously still considered a rookie going into this next year, but at least the professional level, there's not a large sample size to go on, as he made the jump from college right into the NHL no time in Utica. But even at just 5 games, you can see the elite makeup of Luke. He's arguably just as good of a skater, if not in some instances better than both his brothers, which makes him just as deadly, and he's bigger than both Quinn and Jack, standing at 6'2". Defensively, he's also cerebral in preventing entries, something we like to see across our defense here, but he's also quite strong in retrievals and quickly transitioning out of the zone. Against the cycle, it's not exactly his strong suit, not that it is for many defensemen, But with the reach of his stick, that high hockey IQ, and especially that elite skating, it allows him to adjust his play to just about anything that you can throw at him. In transition, Luke is one of the few defensemen who can do it all himself, and a lot of that is, again, thanks to the Hughes brothers' skating, but the biggest thanks is to Ellen in developing their childhood and trajectory with her ability to teach them what she learned growing up. His hockey IQ and passing are also on another level, so he brings multiple weapons in transition and to his offensive game. Just because he can solo run up the ice in the transition game doesn't mean that's all he has, as he also has the sight to spot open teammates and the skill to put the puck right on their tape. In the O-zone, Luke is basically a full-on rover. He's going to pinch in from the blue line, he's going to dangle his way to the net, he's going to blast shots from the point, circle, slot, just about everywhere. As with his transition game again, he doesn't have to just do it all himself. He can string passes just as well as anyone, and through this insane arsenal that makes Luke such a special talent in all three zones. Now, some of that confidence and bravado that he's going to bring in transition and in the offensive zone is going to lend its way, especially early on in his career, to some breakaways against. He's going to get beat by some highly skilled guys that he just has never played before against in his career, and he's going to have some learning curve and some oopsies along the way, just like, Jack did in his early time as well. Although I think Luke is a bit further along in his development, and it won't be as arduous in, say, the goals and assist departments as it was for Jack. So just expect that. There's going to be some bad giveaways and breakaways against odd man rushes because of Luke trying to do maybe a little too much, but he has the elite skating and the size to make up for it when that does happen to him. Off the ice, he's always hanging out with his brother. We know he plays golf, basketball. I'm going to assume the latter is probably because he's taller than both his brothers, so he definitely likes playing against them in that. And we all know all the Hughes brothers have recently heavily gotten into wakeboarding. We also know going into his draft year there were some silly rumors around some personality issues. I don't think there's a single Devils fan that has an ounce of worry in that area. I know, at least personally, I absolutely don't. I think he's going to have a big personality just like his brother, and that's probably really going to come out over the coming years as we're going to get a lot of marketing and media, not just with Luke, but obviously involving both the Hughes brothers here. So, going forward, well, he's going to start the year in the top four. He will be a bona fide top pairing talent by year's end, in my opinion, if not right from Jump Street. But it'll more so be about, giving him the proper pairings, and Moreno just seems like such a natural fit that he'll probably start on the second pair. But that's just because we have another bona fide stud already on the top pair with a other defensive-minded pairing to go along with him in Dougie and Siegs. So Luke doesn't have to be thrusted right into the limelight right away. He can instead grow on that second pair. If it wasn't for Dougie being one of the best in the NHL to do it, Luke would probably be starting on Power Play 1. But instead, Luke will be with Power Play 2, and we'll see how that top unit plays out. Does it come out strong? Does it struggle like it did last year? My assumption is it's going to be quite good throughout the year. But if it does struggle, I can absolutely see Luke getting a shot there. Again, going to be kind of hard to knock Dougie out of that position, at least for this year, maybe even next. And it's because of that reason I am not straight up predicting Luke to win the Calder. I think if he was getting Power Play 1 on this team, he would be right there, probably along with Bedard. But Bedard's going to get every opportunity to get as many points as absolutely possible because Chicago just is not going to care about anything else, where we're really going to be fighting for top of the division. So Luke is just not going to get those same opportunities as Bedard is. And again, he's not going to get that Power Play 1 time because we have Dougie. He might see some penalty killing time just to get his feet wet with it, but given the roster that we have, and we don't need to baptism by fire there with him, he'll get instances here and there, but I don't think, he's going to be a starting guy in that role. Given how the end of playoffs went with his development, I could see him just getting absolute top flight deployment. I don't think we are going to need to ease him into it and just give him beneficial starting zone starts and all of that like a lot of rookies get. I think Luke is just going to step in and play his game, and we're going to play him as if he was a bona fide top flight defenseman that he is. So, top three with Luke. These were actually fairly straightforward and easy as compared to a lot of the more recent spotlights here. Number 3 is going to be that draft day. I mean, we kind of saw it coming, but there was always the chance Luke was going to get drafted before he made it to 4th overall. And oh my goodness, are we glad that he didn't. You can say nepotism pick here with Jack, but it's just not the case. Luke was truly a first overall type talent in his draft. You could argue on redrafts that he would go first overall already, and I think by end of their careers, you will say he absolutely was the best talent in his draft. You remember that draft moment with him and Jack, the whole family. I mean, all of it's just amazing, and it's something every Devil fan is going to remember throughout their careers. Number 2 is going to be him coming into playoffs. I mean, it was only the end of the series with Carolina. I think he could have gotten in right away with against the Rangers, but he just stepped in and played really well. I mean, that first game eased him in a little bit. The second game was a bit of an adjustment, but by that third one, I mean, he got basically our top minutes on the team. He was out there in every deployment, in every situation, and he just looked like a natural fit on the team. And I think he actually threw a bit of a wrench into Carolina's plans before they could adjust a bit. But man, Luke looks phenomenal already, and it is exciting. And then obviously coming in at number 1 was that first NHL goal. I have watched that highlights more times than I could even count. He did it all himself. He walks Ovi. He steps in, gathers his own rebound, wraparound. The celebration, the whole team coming in, it being the last goal of the season in overtime. At the end of the day, it didn't end up mattering, but it could have gotten us first place in the division if Carolina lost their game. The assist from his older brother, Jack, I mean, it was just perfect. You couldn't write it up any better. Script writers are jealous of this situation. I mean, you could put that thing right in a movie as is, and you could say, man, they must have really hammed that one up for theatrics. But no, that's just how it played out. But yeah, we're all excited to see the long, successful career of Luke here. I was very happy to do this video. Cannot wait to see him on the ice with his brother full time across a full season. It's going to be magic. That's going to do it all for today, you guys. It's Friday. Hopefully y'all get out of work a little bit early, get into the weekend. I will see you all tomorrow morning. As always, and forever, let's go Devils.